It's really great honor and privilege to have the opportunity to join with you. This wonderful symposium that you have already organized. And I'm personally grateful to ULAB and its management for organizing this event and inviting me to deliver the keynote speech. Dr. Sajjad, thank you very much for contacting me and organizing this event. I believe from the long time that ULAB is very much instrumental and taking a lot of initiatives in really bringing some changes in the education system of Bangladesh, and they are really taking a number of initiatives in this aspect. Today, it's a really great privilege for me to say something about the transformative learning in the digital era and how we are really shaping the future together. And for that purpose, if I would like to say that how I am going to move in this presentation, some of the slides that I will be showing over here, but during my discussion, I may not exactly follow what I was showing over here. So what I'm going to do, I was basically trying to believe that when I was a student, how do we really learn? Our process was basically taking notes, listening to lectures, memorizing things and writing in our answer. That was the process that we followed. Now what are we doing? What are we really expecting our students to do? It's completely changed. And that is the process that we are going to discuss today, the transformative learning in the digital era and how we can really shape the futures in front of us. Now, if you look into this, these are the areas that we are going to cover during our short presentations. If you basically look into this, what is transformative learning? Before I make this presentation, if you look into this, the landscape of higher education that has been changed over a period of time. Now we know that education level 1.0 moving towards 2.0, 3.0, 4.0 and now 5.0. If you look into the industrial regulations, so from first industrial regulation to now fifth industrial regulations. If you look into this UNESCO, they have provided us some pillars of education. The first, they provided 4 pillars of education, and then they have also come out with another pillar of education. I will discuss on that issue also. These are regarding for bringing transformation. If you look into the generation of our learners, this is also changed from X generation to now Alpha generation and moving towards Beta generation. If you look into this digital era, particularly the technological innovation that has taken place, this is also changing rapidly. Now our discussion on bringing transformation learning is basically focusing on those areas. So when we say transformative learning, it is no more just taking notes and memorizing and reproducing in the time of exam. We are basically focusing on how our learners could create new learning and bringing transformation in the process of whatever they have learned. So transformative learning is basically no more focusing on just echoing information. It is learning that changes the way we think, we feel and act. It basically changes our frames of references. The assumption we hold about ourselves and also for the world. If you take an example, a learner might start thinking, I am just a student receiving knowledge. But after transformative experience, they will think, I am a contributor, co-creator, a citizen of global network. That is the changes that is we are expecting, bringing in transformative educations. Some of the slides that we will be discussing over here. Now, if you look into the terms of higher education, what does it really mean to us, transformative education? It means we are not simply preparing our students to fill jobs requirement or preparing themselves for entering into the job market, but to reimagine their roles in society, to adapt, to navigate complexity, to act ethically and keep learning. If I now remember one of the famous saying that Sakos Dasananda was the founder of BRAC University. He used to indicate that in the transformative era, our students need to prepare in such a way so that they don't become only academically competent. They should be ethically driven, and they should be socially responsible citizens of the country and also for the world. I consider this is one of the finest way of picking up how the transformative era should be. Now, if you look into this, the four dimensions of transition that has really taken place. These are basically in the transformative area. These are the areas that has been changes has really taken place. If you would like to reflect on that, on transformative education system, we need to ask ourselves, are we really reflecting the way they see the world has been changed? Are we really taking note of it and bringing required changes in our mindset? So, these are the changes that's already been taking place in terms of journey towards transformation. Now, if you look into the digital era and you learning landscape, what is that? What does it mean for learning and education in digital era? The first is not only access to information, is also how we can reconstruct the information that we are receiving. And we are also expecting that our learner, they should also come out with their own individual ideas, constructing ideas on information, translating information into creating new meaning for that. Now in the digital era, it is aligned with the industrial revolution also. If you consider all the industrial changes that have taken place, our learning has also taken place accordingly. And in the digital era, the internet, the mobile technologies, the cloud platforms mean learners are no longer tied strictly to classroom campuses. Learning can happen anywhere, anytime. And I will notice this UNESCO that emphasizes that digital innovations has the power to transform education and accelerate process towards universal access. And if you look into some of the learning vision, basically moving us towards future. Technological possibilities, particularly pedagogical innovations, they basically present us as new waves of learning, virtual collaboration, immersive environments, adaptive, analytical, global networks, all bring new ways to engage, to explore, to practice, to reflect. For example, virtual reality can let our students enter a simulated ecosystem. Artificial intelligence can offer adaptive feedback, online networks, and can connect students across continents. That is possible because of the digital era. And these are changes that's taking place over a period of time. If you look into this, according to UNESCO report, 90% of these areas now somehow connected in internet. And if you consider the number of learners, 5.58 in terms of billion or billion, you say that across the world they are somehow connected with internet. So the key shift has taken place from the point of access, how we can really make information access to our learners. Our literacy is also changed. In the digital era, it is no longer sufficient to read and write in the classical sense. If I remember, one of the famous author, Alvin Toffler, who has written a famous book called Future Shock. In this Future Shock, he has asked question, who is unliterate person? Normally we understand that the people who cannot read and write, they are unlettered. In Bengali we call it Murukha, right? But in Alvin Toffler, in his book, it is mentioned, in 21st century, even a master degree holder, even a PhD holder, if he doesn't read more, he is unlettered. So this is the change that has taken place in transformation area. If you do not really read, even if you are holding highest degree, we are not going to update our knowledge. And that is the reality that we are facing. So the digital, in the digital area, the literacy is also changed. We have got multiple literacies. Network literacy, media literacy, data literacy, and visual literacy. The model literacies are there, and we need to accommodate with this. Learners are now becoming agency of learners. They are not only receivers. Network works very well. Here in this slide, if you consider the 4 educational pillars that was offered first by UNESCO and later on at the 5th pillar. The first 4 pillars, they said that learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together. In this 21st century, we cannot remain isolated. We need to be connected with each other. They are focusing on learning to live together. and the learning to be. It means each and every learner, they are different and their potential is to be nurtured. Considering the Sustainable Development Goals, 17 goals, and we know in education focusing on 4 Sustainable Development Goals, they came up with another pillar. They call it learning to be transformed and transforming others. This is the 5th pillar of education. And we found that if you consider in terms of the transformational changes, the 5th pillar suggested by UNESCO is also need to be considered. Whether our education, our course curriculum, our syllabus that we are offering, are we really bringing those changes in front of us? Through our education system, are we really preparing our future generation, our graduates, to be a transformed person so that they can really bring changes in their society? That is the expectation of the transformation learning process. Now, the question comes, what transformative learning looks like in the digital era? If you look some of the slide here, now in terms of pedagogical changes, I'm sure that many of you are quite familiar with this, that at the very outset in 7th century, we basically came out through the contribution of the Christian missionaries, the concept of pedagogy, which was basically focusing on art and science of teaching children. Now that has been really changed. Now we basically came out with the concept of andragogy. Andragogy no more focusing on only teaching children. Pedagogy was focusing on teacher-centered, one-way communication. And assumption was that children do not know. Now in the 21st century, we moved from pedagogy to andragogy, which is basically focusing on the art and science of facilitating adult to learn. So in the, particularly in the university level, we cannot really consider our learners are children. They are adult. So our teaching modality needs to be changed. It cannot be same as it was during the pedagogy concept. Now, andragogy basically expecting us that we need to change our modalities so that we create an environment, call it art and science of facilitating adult to learn. The concept of teaching is, you want to hear, the more of facilitation, creating an environment. And the transformation process is expected from us. Now, because of the technological era and changes, from andragogy we move into heutagogy. Now what does heutagogy mean? Heutagogy is basically offering us that our learner, some of the learners, they are taking their responsibility to learn. And they are self-directed learning. They might not need to come to our university or technological, because of the technological advances, they can get information anywhere they can learn. That's why they can learn anywhere, any place they are. The heutagogy is basically bringing on that. So from pedagogy we move to andragogy, from andragogy we move to heutagogy. Now because of the technological era, we came out to the cybergogy. Cybergogy is basically focusing, involving the technology together along with our learner pedagogy. So it means, as our previous speaker, particularly our acting Vice-Chancellor was focusing on that, the ULAB has already started in blending learning and taking a number of facilities. That is because of that cybergogy. Now, interestingly, this is not at here. Now people started talking about humanology. Now when we say humanology, what does it mean? It basically focuses on the dispositional perspective of the learners, right? Emotional intelligence of the learners, and human dimension of the learners put together in cyberology aspect. In cyberology, focusing more on technological, bringing together the technology and learning together. But humanology is also touching that don't forget that learner has got a certain human perspective, and you need to integrate those emotional intelligence and all ethical dimensions in our learning pedagogy perspective. So if you look into the changes that has taken place from pedagogy to andragogy, from andragogy to heutagogy, heutagogy to cybergogy, and now we are talking about humanology. And all these changes that has taken place has some connection with the digital era, with the technological innovations. Now, what this changes has really helping us to create? The changes basically helping us learner to really make them co-designer, okay, and co-constructor of the knowledge. Now the challenge for us as a faculty member, are we really taking these initiatives so that our learner can become co-designer and co-constructor of learners? There is a flexibility of digital technology using, and there is also open up the global network engagement. And are we really taking these facilities on that? Learning is basically is helping us to create experiential platform in using different kind of digital tools that has been prepared for us. I'm not directly using this, but I'm touching a little bit on that so that I can go through this. This is the summary that when I was talking about all those changes that has taken place. The relationship between the educational level, pedagogical involvement, all these are bringing us, giving us a new dimension in the digital era. New literacy that I have already talked with you. These are already covered. The learner have no more receiver, they have also agency of learners. The vision of humanology, that I have already talked to you. These are the transformation that has really brought by the digital era. Now, the question comes, what are the opportunities that has been created for us? I would say that the number of opportunities that has been offered because of the innovation in the digital era. The number one, as I already mentioned to you, that we need to now think that our learners are agency model. They can really co-create learning, and they can also reconstruct the information they are receiving from different sources. And we need to also adapt how we can really take advantage of those in the network, and the digital facilities has been created. We can also create technologies with certain purpose and develop digital literacies to add new literacies, as we mentioned, different way. Now the challenge for us, how we can also ensure inclusion and access. to really avoid the digital divide that has also created some problem for us. And professional development of cultural shift. Our faculty members, those who are joined in higher education, teaching, learning, there has to be continuous process of upgrading their knowledge and skills. And I'm sure ULAB is continuously doing it through each Center of Excellence Teaching and Learning. And that is the purpose that has been created. And some of you are quite familiar with this, the affiliate. Affiliate was also taking initiative for really upgrading the ongoing knowledge and skills of our faculty members, those who are involved in higher education teaching. So the advantages that we have created through these new changes, now we need to also consider how we can really take advantage of those opportunities that we have created. Now at the same time, it is also given us a lot of challenges. As I mentioned to you, digital divide, it is a big challenge for Bangladeshi learners. Now our challenge would be how we can really minimize the digital divide so that we can ensure inclusive learning facilities for our learners. Particularly making our learners ready to adapt to the changes, and also our faculty members to upgrade their skills continuously and adapt with the changed situations. But at the same time, it is also creating a cognitive overload for our faculty members and learners, how we can really change all those. This is also a big challenge for us. Now, in order to really facing those challenges, these are some guiding principles that we have suggested, that we must ensure our equity, we must reflect, we must demonstrate empathy, and we are also needed to be ethical, and we must ensure that whatever changes that we are making, it is remain sustained. And for that purpose, we would like to also go for certain kind of call of action for you. I am also at the end of my presentation. In closing, I would like to mention that as educators, administrators, students, and policy actors, we need to review this moment, digital transition, but as a transformational opening. For us, the digital transition is also creating such a kind of transformational opening. Now, we need to ask ourselves some questions. How many students changing as learners, not just as recipients? How might our institution enable learners to become designers, connectors, reflectors, and change agents? How might we use digital tools not simply to replicate existing practices, but to reimagine what learning can be? These are some of the questions that we need to address. In Bangladesh, particularly in South Asia, in the global context, we have an opportunity to leapfrog old constraints to redesign inclusive digital ecosystem, to prepare learners not just for the world as it, but for the world as it will become. So let us commit to ourselves, building learner agency, empowering students as architects of their learning, shifting from access to agency, from providing devices to enabling information transformation, embracing network, global digital pedagogies while remaining rooted in our context, ensuring equity and inclusion so that transformation is broad-based, not selective. Continuously reflecting, improving, because the transformation is a journey, not a destination. I look forward to the conversation that we will have this afternoon, to the ideas we will generate together, to the collaboration of all the initiatives that we have already taken. And at the end, I must say that thank you very much for your attention. I wish most productive and inspiring symposium in the following day. Now, let me invite a short interactive moment for it. Let us ask our participants, what is one assumption about learning you hold that might need to change in the digital era? It is for all of you, this question. What is one assumption about learning you hold that might need to change? This question is for all of us. Once again, thank you very much, dear participants, for allowing me to share some of my thought on that. In conclusion, I would say that the higher education system, particularly if you consider Bangladesh, we have formal institutions for primary education, secondary education, and college level. But unfortunately, there are so many private and public universities have been created. Right now, we have got more than 170 universities. And our students are entering into the teaching profession without having basic upgradation of teaching process. So that's why I would say that the Center of Excellence Teaching Learning, ULAB, and like other universities, those are working here for upgrading the continuous skill of our faculty members is very much needed. And I wish every success of ULAB for making it happen. And the kind of symposium, education symposium that you have conducted this year, let us try to make it a yearly phenomenon. And more faculty members from different other universities could be involved in the process so that we can really make it happen that the capacity development, capacity upgradation is a continuous process. And if we cannot really do this, our future will not be bright as we are expecting. My dear friends, my dear colleagues, thanks you once again for giving me this opportunity.